This is okay. And then the last one within this branch is Adler, which is individual theory. So he again was a neo-Freudian and broke away to create his own theory. I kind of think about, how whenever we were looking at human growth and development and we had Freud and then we had Erikson. And so Erikson's was very similar to Freud's, but took on very much of a social component. That's kind of what we see in Adlerian, is that Adlerian took some of Freud's stuff, but very much focused on this social component that Freud certainly didn't acknowledge. So he believed that forces in development, things like birth order and social factors, were significant in development. And so these are just some kind of common characteristics of the different children in birth order: firstborn, middleborn, lastborn, and only child. And again, these are not scientific in nature. There isn't evidence that suggests that this is always the case, but certainly one could probably argue that there is at least a little bit of truth to it, even if it's something that we can't prove scientifically. So here is my little picture for Adler. Adler was actually sick as a child. He had polio, if I remember correctly. And so I always think of him as ill Adler. And so because he was sick and I believe in a wheelchair for a portion of his childhood, he really developed this sense of inferiority, and rightly so. He wasn't able to do a lot of things that other kids were able to do. And so he very much focused on this idea in his theory, this idea of feeling inferior. And instead of it being seen as a negative, that it actually can be a positive. It can be a motivator for us to strive for superiority. He also talks about this idea of a lifestyle, which you'll certainly want to know. A lifestyle is unique private beliefs and strategies that one creates. It serves as a reference for attitudes, behaviors, view of self, others, and the world. It includes conscious and unconscious aspects from past experiences. And so even though we don't hear quite as much about the unconscious in Adler, he does still accept that there is a certain level of unconscious and that does play into our lifestyle, which is kind of another word for like a belief system, is maybe what we would call it today. And so his view of maladaptive behavior is that it results from a mistaken lifestyle and these feelings of inferiority. And so the goal, of course, then would be to replace this mistaken lifestyle with a healthier one, so an improved lifestyle, overcome feelings of inferiority. And he also talks about this idea of social interest. He called it a community feeling, kind of similar to Maslow. And again, this is going to be pre-Maslow, but similar to this idea of belonging, that we needed to be a part of something, that this social component was of utmost importance in this particular theory. So techniques, one, we're going to establish a relationship. So this would have been very unique for the time. Remember, Freud was a neurologist. He was a doctor. So he felt like his relationship with his clients or patients, he referred to as neutral, meaning pretty much like your typical doctor-patient relationship. There wasn't a lot of personal stuff. There wasn't a lot of disclosure. But Adler really was the first to speak to the idea of establishing a relationship with the client is important. Then we're going to explore their lifestyle and or feelings of inferiority, where those came from, etc. We're going to offer encouragement and promote insight and help them with a reorientation towards an improved lifestyle in a socially beneficial direction. So we're not going to watch all of this session, but, and of course we know it's Adlerian because it says right there, but what I want you to think about while this is playing, we're going to play the first half of it or so, is just what things in there would indicate to you that this was Adlerian had you not known that.
YouTube TV has no hidden fees and includes unlimited DVR space. YouTube TV, try it free.
If you want your taxes done right and your guaranteed biggest refund, you need to visit Free Tax USA.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Lauren.
My name's Erica.
Nice to meet you, Erica.
Nice to meet you too.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing fairly well.
Good, good. So what's going on?
I've just been having some issues that I thought that I'd need to seek some kind of counseling to kind of get through these, overcome these.
So what are some of these issues that you're feeling?
Well, the biggest thing is I'm in a relationship right now, and I feel that it's semi-verbal abuse issue, and he talks down a lot to me.
Okay.
And I really don't like how that makes me feel as a person.
Okay.
And I don't know how to express my feelings to him without him getting upset with me.
Okay. How do you feel like he talks down to you? What are some things that stick out to you?
He makes fun of me a lot to my face, and stuff that I do. And he not really calls me names, but just kind of puts me down in a way that I'm just not comfortable with. And when I try to retaliate, he just makes it worse, and it just keeps going from there. Okay. I feel like I care about him, but I'm not sure if I care enough about him that I want to continue this relationship. That's why I'm trying to seek this.
Okay. How long have you guys been together?
It's been about 1.5 years.
Okay. All right. So you're just feeling like you need to make a decision whether.
Yeah, I feel like I need to make this decision now before I waste more of both of our time. Okay.
All right. What about the rest of your life? What's going on there? You have your relationship with your boyfriend,
and I'm a current student right now.
Okay.
So I have that struggle too, which he doesn't support that at all. So, and then I work.
How does that make you feel that he doesn't support that?
It makes me feel down again. I mean, he puts me down for anything. He kind of makes me feel like I can't succeed.
Okay.
And that I'm wasting my time with education.
Okay. What about in the rest of your relationships? Do you have friends that see this, or are you close to them?
I have some friends. They don't like him.
Okay.
So we're kind of apart. He makes me feel like I shouldn't be friends with them because they don't like him.
Okay. What about your father? Does your father know him, or is he a part of your life?
I think my father's met him once. My father's not really ever been a part of my life, so that's a struggle in its own.
Okay. Are your parents have a good relationship?
No, they don't have a relationship normally whatsoever unless they have to.
Well, brothers and sisters, do you have any
I do.
sisters?
I'm the oldest of 5 children. I have my sister. She's 4 years younger, and we have the same parents. And then I have 2 half-brothers and then a stepbrother that lives with my dad and stepmom.
Well, how old were you when your parents, were they married? Did they divorce? Did they split up?
They were married. They got married before I was born. My dad had an affair, and that's how I have my half-brother who's a little younger than me.
Okay.
And they kind of worked things out, and then they had my sister. So I was about 5 or so, and they did the split, and then they did go into a divorce later.
Okay. Let's talk about your childhood a little bit. Okay. What is your first memory?
When I was in pre-kindergarten, about, like I said, 5 or so, I guess, would be the age. It's the earliest I can think back. It was a Head Start program, kind of like the pre-kindergarten, and we all would sit in this big circle, and the instructor would play music, and we would kind of sing along, and there was a little boy that sat beside me, and he would always untie my shoelaces, and I couldn't tie my shoelaces, so it would make me sad, and I would cry, and the teacher would have to come and tie my shoelaces for me, and that was kind of a traumatic experience, I guess, when I was 5 years old. So. Okay.
What about your siblings? What's your relationship with them?
I guess the closest relationship I have now, and growing up, was with my younger brother, the oldest. His name's Nicholas, and we don't have a relationship now, but when we were younger, we always got along and played well together.
Okay. Okay. And your step sibling, do you have a relationship with him?
Yeah, we actually get along fairly well. I feel like I kind of nurture him and take care of them, more so than my sister, because she won't allow it. She's very headstrong.
Right.
But my brother is kind of, we've always played well together, and I've been that big sister,
Okay. Let's talk about when you were a child. How did you feel about your dad? What did that look like?
I feel like he abandoned my family because he left.
In the divorce? Okay.
And my sister and I would go, he'd had weekend visitations growing up, and we would go over there and visit with him on the weekends. And
Okay. Did you have any childhood fears? Any fears that stick out for you when you were a kid?
I was always afraid to be, like, I could, play by myself when I was a child, but I never wanted to be alone. Like, I never wanted to, spend all day alone. And I still struggle with that, like not wanting to be alone all day. I like to have company around me, other people. But I think that kind of stems from the abandonment I felt from my father, too, if that makes sense. That we would wait for him, on the weekends to pick us up, and he'd never show. That was very hurtful as a child, to be waiting on a parent and then not hearing from them, and
So when your dad didn't show up, you felt some kind of disappointment,
I was very,
abandonment.
very disappointed. Yeah, it was very hurtful to know that you had always looked for this for the weekend, to see dad, and then he just doesn't show, doesn't call, and you don't hear from him. And a lot of it had to do with he was in relationships too, before he married.
Okay.
It settled down once he married, but before then, the women came first.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to stop it there, which remember, you guys have these slides, so you can always, continue watching these ones that we only watch part of in your time. But kind of looking at what made that Adlerian, I think is important, kind of to help you conceptualize what that looks like in application, right? Because so much of the exam is going to be application type questions.